My daughter started dating the boy next door. Sweet kid. Polite. Then she got sick. Tired. Withdrawn. One night I found her crying, holding a positive pregnancy test. We were devastated. But what broke me was when his parents came over. With a lawyer. "We'll take full custody," they said. "You're not fit to be raising a grandchild." My daughter was still in shock. Still processing. Then we found out they'd already enrolled the baby in their insurance plan, before we'd even decided what to do. I live in Kent, Washington. It's a calm place. Trees line the streets, and people mostly keep to themselves. We've lived here almost 10 years. It was just me and my daughter, Marcy, since her mom died when she was 10. I never remarried. I didn't see the point. My world became about keeping her safe, making ends meet, and being a good dad. She's a quiet kid. Sweet. Always has been. She turned 17 a few months ago. I remember we had a small cake and she asked if she could invite Tyler over. That was the first time I noticed the boy from next door wasn't just the boy next door anymore. Tyler seemed alright at first. Polite. Called me sir, helped with groceries, even offered to mow the lawn once. I liked him. I didn't love the idea of them dating, but I told myself I had to trust her. She was a good kid. Never caused trouble. Got good grades. Kept to herself mostly. Then something started to shift. Around December, she got real quiet. Stopped singing in the kitchen. Started sleeping in more. Wouldn't eat breakfast. I chalked it up to winter blues. School stress. Maybe even a little heartbreak. Teenagers go through stuff, right? But this was different. She was tired all the time. Snapping at me over nothing. Then she'd cry and apologize, and I'd feel like an idiot for not knowing what was wrong. One night, I came home late from work. I manage a little repair shop off Central Avenue. Wasn't even supposed to stay late, but someone brought in a blown radiator at the last minute. When I walked in, the house was dark except for the light in the hallway. I heard soft crying. I followed the sound and found her in the bathroom, sitting on the floor with her knees pulled to her chest. There was a pregnancy test on the tile next to her. Positive. I didn't say anything for a second. Just stared at it, then at her. She looked so small. Like a scared little girl. When she looked up and saw me, her face broke. "I'm sorry, Daddy," she said. "I didn't mean to. I didn't know. I'm sorry." I picked her up off the floor and held her for a long time. My shirt was soaked with her tears. I wanted to scream, cry, punch something, anything. But I just kept holding her. Because that's what she needed. That night changed everything. The next few days were a blur. Doctor appointments. Long talks. Sitting in silence. She didn't want to tell Tyler at first. Said she was scared. I didn't push. I told her it was her decision. No one else's. Not even mine. I told her we'd figure things out. No matter what she chose, I'd be by her side. She finally told Tyler a few days later. I don't know what was said. She came home and locked herself in her room. When I knocked, she said she didn't want to talk. I gave her space. Then 4 days later, his parents showed up. It was a Thursday night. I remember because I just made dinner and we were about to sit down. There was a knock at the door. I opened it, and there they were, Derek and Sheila Hughes. All dressed up like they were going to court. And with them was a woman in a gray suit carrying a leather briefcase. She introduced herself as Connie, their lawyer. They didn't waste time. Sheila sat down on our couch like she owned the place. "We understand your daughter is pregnant," she said, smiling. "And we believe it's best for everyone if we assume full custody of the child." I blinked. "Come again?" Derek leaned forward. "We've already spoken to legal counsel. We've talked to child services about next steps. We're prepared to take care of everything. You don't need to worry." "I'm not worried," I said. Because you're out of your damn minds if you think you're taking anything, Connie chimed in. We're not here to argue. We're here to offer a legal solution. Your daughter is a minor. She's not prepared for motherhood. Neither are you. She just found out she's pregnant, I said, standing up. We haven't even made a decision yet. She doesn't need to, Sheila said. We already have. We've enrolled the baby in our health insurance. We've secured a pediatrician. We're prepared for this. I looked at Marcy. She hadn't said a word. She was curled up on the edge of the couch, eyes wide, like a rabbit caught in headlights. They weren't just talking to us. They were talking over us. Like we didn't matter. They handed me a manila folder. Inside were legal documents, custody claims, health insurance paperwork, even a letter from a family therapist saying, "This arrangement is in the best interest of the unborn child." I threw it back at them. Told them to leave. They did, but not before Sheila said, "We'll see you in court." They already had it all planned. Before we even had time to breathe. Before Marcy could process what was happening to her body. Before we could talk about abortion, adoption, or anything else. They didn't care about her. Or me. They just wanted the baby. Like it was some prize they could win. They thought we'd roll over. Thought we'd hand it all to them. They were dead wrong. After that night, Marcy didn't eat much. Didn't talk much. She walked around like a ghost in her own skin. I tried to comfort her, but nothing helped. She was scared, confused, angry. And so was I. But I didn't have the time to feel sorry for us. I had to protect her. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Guy named Dan Phelan. I'd done a break job for him a few years back, and he told me if I ever needed legal help, to give him a call. He met me that afternoon, and when I showed him the papers the Hugheses dropped off, his eyebrows shot up. "They're trying to fast-track custody," he said. "They're betting on your daughter being scared and you being too broke or too slow to fight. They already put the unborn baby on their insurance," I said. He nodded. "Not illegal. But shady. Real shady." He made a few calls, pulled some records, and we found out they'd contacted Child Protective Services the day Marcy told Tyler she was pregnant. That's why they were so calm. They weren't reacting, they were executing a plan they'd already set in motion. "They want that baby," Dan said. "And they're gonna play dirty." Over the next week, things got worse. I noticed a blue sedan parked on the street outside our house for hours at a time. Always a different driver. Always. Just waiting for someone. Then a CPS worker showed up, unannounced. Her name was Claire something. She walked through our home, asking questions, taking notes. Looked in the fridge, checked Marcy's room, even asked to see the bathroom. Said it was routine. Said it was just to make sure the environment was safe. Marcy stayed in her room, crying. I asked Dan what the hell was going on. "They're trying to build a case that you're unfit," he said. "And they're hoping you slip up." So I cleaned the house from top to bottom. Threw out old food. Replaced worn-out furniture. Made sure everything was spotless. I took time off work. Spent every hour with Marcy. Tried to help her find her voice again. But it wasn't until a few days later, when I heard her sobbing through the wall again, that I realized they'd done more damage than I thought. I knocked on her door. "Sweetheart?" She opened it slowly. Her face was pale. Dark circles under her eyes. "Can I tell you something?" she whispered. "Anything." "I didn't want to sleep with him," she said. "Not at first. But he kept pressuring me. He said he loved me. That if I didn't really care about him." My stomach dropped. "And then?" I said no one night. She went on. And he didn't stop. I sat down hard on her bed. My hands shook. "Are you saying he forced you?" She nodded slowly. I didn't even understand what was happening until later. I just froze. I wanted to scream. To run next door and drag him out by his hair. but I held it in. For her. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. I thought it was my fault, she whispered. And then when I told him I was pregnant, he said his parents would handle it. Now I understood everything. They didn't just want the baby. They wanted this story to stay clean. No scandal. No police. No rape charges. Just a young couple, maybe a little reckless, and a perfect family stepping in to save the day. They were covering for him. And if they were willing to lie, manipulate CPS, and drag us through court, what else were they hiding? I told Dan everything. He took notes, then called a friend of his, a retired cop now working as a private investigator. We were done playing defense. It was time to strike back. The private investigator's name was Neil. Mid-50s. Wore the same gray windbreaker every time I saw him. Didn't talk much, but when he did, it was straight to the point. Dan told him what Marcy said. About the pressure. The night she said no. About how the Hugheses were moving like they had something to hide. Neil nodded once. I'll look into the kid. A week went by. Marcy started seeing a trauma counselor Dan recommended. She didn't want to go at first, but after that night, after she finally let it out, she agreed. I started sleeping in a chair outside her bedroom. Not because she asked me to. Just because I needed to. Then Neil called. I've got something, he said. Meet me tomorrow. Don't bring your daughter. I met him at a diner near Des Moines Memorial Drive. He slid a folder across the table. Your neighbor's not clean. Inside were photos. Screenshots. Printed texts. Social media messages. Tyler had been messaging multiple girls online. Most of them younger than him. Some messages were friendly. A few weren't. A couple were borderline threatening. One girl even blocked him and wrote a public post saying, Tyler Hughes is a creep, stay away. But the worst part? He'd done this before. Neil tracked down a girl who went to Tyler's old school in Tacoma before they moved to Kent 2 years ago. She'd accused him of something similar. Pressuring her. Cornering her. Saying things like, if you really cared, you'd do this for me. Her parents didn't press charges, though. The Hugheses quietly pulled him out of school and moved. They buried it. Neil also got something else. A voicemail. This is the gold, he said. Tyler left it for one of the girls last year. She kept it. He played it. Tyler's voice, clear as day. If you tell anyone, my parents will ruin you. Just shut up and it'll go away. That was enough. More than enough. I handed everything to Dan. We're not just fighting for custody anymore, I told him. We're going to the police. Dan called a detective he knew at the Kent PD. I took Marcy down there myself. She gave a full statement. It took hours. I sat outside the whole time, hands shaking, heart in my throat. When she finally came out, she didn't say anything, just hugged me. The detective said they'd be contacting Tyler for questioning. But that's when things got uglier. The very next morning, we woke up to find our mailbox smashed in. Spray paint on the side of the house. One word, liar. I didn't even bother calling the cops. I knew who did it. Later that day, I caught Sheila standing on the sidewalk, arms crossed, just staring at our house. Like she was daring me to come out. Like this was all just business to her. I walked up to her. You're not getting that baby, I said. Not now. Not ever. She smiled, tight and fake. You think anyone's going to believe a traumatized girl over my son? You don't have the money to fight us. I didn't respond. I just walked away. Because I knew what she didn't. We did have evidence. Witnesses. And a detective who didn't like smug people trying to play the system. Later that week, a CPS caseworker came again. A new one this time. Said she was reassigned. The old one had been pulled after a complaint from my lawyer. I could tell the new one saw things differently. She asked how Marcy was doing. Not just about the baby. That was the first time I felt hope in weeks. Then something happened that changed everything again. Neil called, voice tense. "Check your bank account," he said. "Now." I pulled it up on my phone. It was empty. "Looks like someone got your info," he said. "You had a few transfers to an unknown account. Just started in the last 48 hours. I stared at the screen, heart racing. Nearly $5,000 gone. "They're trying to crush you," Neil said. "Legally. Financially. Any way they can." The Hugheses were done waiting. They wanted to starve us out. Ruin us. Force us to give up. But they just made one more mistake. They made it personal. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my empty bank account, the crumpled legal papers, and a photo of Marcy when she was 7, missing her front teeth, holding a fishing pole, smiling wide. I felt like I'd failed her. Failed to keep her safe. But that feeling passed. What replaced it was colder. Sharper. They took my money. Tried to steal my grandchild. Covered up what their son did. And now they were trying to wear us down until we broke. They didn't know me at all. The next morning, I made 2 calls. First to Dan. I told him to file for an emergency protective order. Not just for Marcy, but also for any future decisions about the baby. We had a hearing date set within 48 hours. Second, I called Neil. "If you can dig up anything else on them, anything, I want it." Neil got to work. The next day, Marcy sat in court, holding my hand. She was pale, but she sat tall. When the judge asked her to speak, she did. Voice shaking, but steady enough. She told the judge about Tyler. About what he did. How he didn't stop when she told him no. How his parents tried to make it disappear. Then Dan handed the judge a stack of papers, Neil's file. The judge flipped through it slowly. Photos. The old accusations. The threatening voicemail. Screenshots of Tyler's messages. The courtroom was silent. Then the judge said something I'll never forget. "Custody will remain with the biological mother. All rights of the father are hereby suspended, pending further investigation into the criminal allegations." Sheila gasped. Derek tried to stand, and their lawyer whispered something sharp to sit him down. The judge wasn't finished. "A formal CPS investigation will begin immediately. If any contact is made with the minor or her family, it will be considered harassment and subject to arrest." It was over. Just like that. They lost. Tyler's face went red as a tomato. He looked like he might cry, or scream, or both. He stood up and yelled. She lied. She wanted it. The judge banged the gavel so hard it echoed. "Remove him." That night the house was quiet. I made pancakes for dinner. Marcy actually smiled. A little one. But it was real. Then 2 weeks later, the real hammer dropped. Neil found something big. Real big. Derek Hughes had embezzled money. Thousands. From a construction contract tied to the city. He was supposed to bid out work, but he created a fake vendor and funneled the money to himself. Neil passed it on to a friend in the DA's office. A month later, Derek was arrested. Local papers covered it. Front page of the Kent Daily. Respected businessman facing felony fraud charges. I framed that newspaper. And Tyler? After 2 more girls came forward with similar stories, he was charged. They offered him a deal, but he was too cocky. Thought he could beat it. He didn't. Got 6 years in prison. The day they took him away in cuffs, I drove past their house and saw Sheila outside. Alone. Sitting on her porch. No husband. No son. Just her. She looked up and saw me through the windshield. I didn't smile. I didn't wave. I just drove on. That baby? My granddaughter? She was born in July. 7 pounds 2 ounces. Healthy. Beautiful. Marcy named her Hope. She saved her life. and I made damned sure no one would ever take it from her again.